We're going to get the meeting started here, and we will call to order the Cumberland County Finance meeting. And we will begin with the roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder.
I am here.
Commissioner Goshi.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
All right. Well, this is the point in the agenda where we open it up to public comment. If there's anyone online wishing to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. Are we seeing anyone, Angela?
There is nobody else.
Okay, and I don't think anyone is here to make a public comment. We have our presenters in the room. We will move forward through the agenda then and begin with the approval of the minutes from the March 19th meeting. All seconds moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have a proclamation recognizing National Library Week. And with us, we have Jerry Counterman from the Library Association. And Jean, I believe you're going to be making this presentation if you want to.
I've got it. So we have a proclamation. The Cumberland County Commissioners are recognizing National Library Week. Whereas Cumberland County proudly recognizes the remarkable contributions of its 8 libraries, which serve over 275,000 residents across 33 municipalities. And whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can explore new ideas and be drawn to new possibilities. And whereas libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. And whereas libraries empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. And whereas libraries partner with schools, businesses, and organizations, connecting the dots to maximize resources, increase efficiency, and expand access to essential services to strengthen the entire community. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library staff across the country are joining together to celebrate National Library Week and its theme, Drawn to the Library. Now, therefore, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners proclaims April 6th to the 12th, 2025 as National Library Week. During this week, we encourage all residents to visit their library and celebrate the opportunities they unlock for us every day. And it is presented on the 2nd day of April, 2025. Jerry, do you want to come up and proclamation?
Jerry, on the theme Drawn to the Library, is there art involved?
There is. And the theme for summer learning program is Color Our World. So
Oh,
it's all art connected.
okay. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah.
You know, Jerry is I've told this story before, but since the theme is Drawn to the Library, as a child. Hi, Carolyn. Hello, how are you?
Busy.
So, as a child, my first experience with the children's library was an art contest, and I read a book. I read a book and then I had $100, and I won a silver dollar. So I still have all of that. So.
Wow.
And because that's from you.
Yeah.
All right. Kelly, can I get something? There we go. All right, everyone look here. Okay. All right, thank you.
Carolyn, would you like to say a few words on behalf of the library?
Right. We're really looking forward to next week for the celebration of National Library Week. There are multiple events that are going on throughout the week at libraries, but we're especially excited to celebrate on, how do I get these right? Monday is the Right to Read Day. Tuesday is National Library Workers Day, where we celebrate all of the people that make libraries happen. And then there's a third, National Library Outreach Day. And for us, our STAR program is the big highlight there for many other libraries, things like bookmobiles and other ways that we highlight, that we reach out in the community to celebrate our libraries. So lots of things will be happening all week long, further things in the month, along with the county celebrating, of course, our big anniversary. And so that'll be happening all year long. So thank you for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, and thank you for supporting the celebration of the
Yeah.
275th for
Yeah.
the county. When you mentioned the supporting library staff, how do you know roughly how many volunteers you have across the libraries?
Volunteers, I don't know exactly. It varies from library to library. I would, if I had to guess, I'd say around 300.
300,
Yeah.
because I know it takes a lot of hands
Yes.
to make them function.
Yeah, our
So-
staff's about the same, our staff's closer to 250.
Okay,
So, yeah,
very good.
takes a lot of people. So glad to have them.
Yeah, thank you for coming out and
Thank
sorry to rush you a little bit here. It's a busy
Me
kind of
neither
day.
today, so appreciate your time.
It's the right seat. All right. Next up, we have the Cumberland Area Economic Development Corporation giving an update, and I'm not sure who is going to be up first or all of everybody here. So we have Janet Anderson, Ashley Kurtz, and Greg Walker. All right, so however you want to do it, folks.
Hard to follow presentation like that. Good afternoon. We are happy to be here. Let me make a couple quick introductions before we get started. Ashley Kurtz is our interim director of tourism and marketing and has been doing that since January. And Greg Welker is our director of economic development. This, I think, is your second meeting.
It is.
So the last time we were here was September 2024. So this is our 6-month update, and we're happy to be here and excited to report out. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
Very excited
We're
to
good.
go.
Let me just say this really quickly. We are going to pass it around a little bit. So you'll see us just going back and forth between the three of us. That's great.
So I will kick it off with advertising. And we will not be touching on every single point on every single slide. Don't worry, we won't keep you that long. The one thing I really wanted to highlight here is our brand lift study. We have not done one of these since 2018, and typically this is a study that is done when you have a new campaign to help identify if it is successful in the market. So this is a 2-part survey. The first part was a paid panel that went out in January to people that live in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and DC. And these are people that indicated they are willing to travel at least an hour, but more by car for vacations. There are also people that had to meet a certain household income. The minimum that we accepted was 50,000. And they also had to indicate they just had a general interest in travel and traveled multiple times per year. So this survey went out, and we found from them in the pre-survey a little bit about their actual demographics, who they were, some of their age, their income range, their travel habits, how they like to travel, what their travel looks like, their awareness of our area, awareness of Cumberland Valley, if they've heard of it, they've heard of it before, and also if they had, what their perception of the area was. So it does have a little bit of overlap with the perception study we did last year. Now we will put our advertising into the market for the summer, and then at the end of the year, we will survey those same people again to see if we have changed their perception, their awareness, and their willingness to travel to the area. So we probably won't have those results until early 2026, but this is a pretty big project. I'm excited to see the results, and I'm hopeful we'll see some really positive outcomes In the pre-survey, we did see that about 60% indicated they were aware of Cumberland Valley. Just because they say they are doesn't mean that they always are. Sometimes people get a little bit confused. So I'm interested to see the measurement of that at the end of the year. And about 40% had said that they had traveled here already. So really what we're looking for is that 40% higher at the end of the year that we have changed travel habits.
Ashley, do you know if there's any, once you point out something and people just automatically become more aware, it's like when you're looking at cars and you think you may want to get a certain type of Toyota, and then all of a sudden you notice Toyotas all over the place. Do they feel like they have just kind of prefacing that for this group of individuals that they will be more mindful now, or?
Maybe. The one nice thing that we have is the length of time between when we survey them the first time and when we survey them the second time. We also won't have a strong ad presence in these markets until April, May. So from the first time we survey them to they're seeing a strong ad presence is also some time. And that was intentional because of what you said. You do notice. Unfortunately, there's not really a good way to get around that with this type of survey.
Okay, thank
Do you mean
you.
April or May of next year?
May of this year is when
Okay.
strong ad presence will begin, and then we'll be doing the survey. November or December, we haven't quite finalized. We're still working on our media buy, so we want to see when that really wraps up. Give it a few weeks and then do the survey.
Okay, thanks.
And I promise I won't talk as much for the rest of these. So that one's a little in depth. Moving along, our destination sales efforts, we are getting back into the bus business. Some years ago, we did have a focus on getting bus groups here. We pulled away from that a little bit, and we are going back. So with that, our staff attended the American Bus Association conference in Philadelphia in January. They had 37 appointments there. They are planning to go on a mission to meet New England states, and I left that big because they're going all over. They have a list of about 40 places they want to hit, but their goal is 16 for the amount of days they're actually going. That will be in coordination with York and Reading counties. So that will be really nice that we'll be able to market as a region to them. The last note on here is that our staff is working with the Pennsylvania Junior Wrestling Championships that took place over at the Farm Show building, but we were able to, with room blocks, get about 200 room nights from that, and hoping to grow that relationship. For earned media, typically we don't do a lot with influencers until the summertime, but we've been getting a lot of requests. They really want to work with us. So we've hosted 2 influencers already this year. And we also recorded 2 podcasts with the Chick to Chick podcast. And with that, we really focused on our experience trails, including the coffee and chocolate trail and our upcoming beer trail, just to help get the word out. Talking about our experience trails, our coffee and chocolate trail is doing really well this year. It's not on this slide, but I got an update yesterday that we have over 800 more check-ins already this year than we did the entirety of last year. And a check-in is when they're physically at a business. So that is really phenomenal. We also launched the Carlisle History Walk. This was in conjunction with Downtown Historic Carlisle. They have the lovely blue markers around town, and we rolled that into one of our experience trails. Quite honestly, that is a trial run. To see how that goes, to see if that's something that our visitors and our residents will engage with. And we will be launching our 2025 beer trail tomorrow. So we're very excited about that.
And Ashley, we're hopeful to also be involved in the promoting the 275th with the history of Cumberland County to direct some traffic to those marker sites as well, because I think that that could be a really cool thing for people on their own.
Yeah, it's a great tie-in. Looking at our newsletters, this isn't typically a very exciting topic, but we had in the last couple of months our best open rates ever. And that is something to celebrate. That means that people find the content valuable. They're opening it and engaging with our newsletters. We will also be launching a new newsletter that will be a quarterly economic development newsletter. Greg and his team are really leading that charge. And then we do already a tourism partner e-newsletter, where we send that just to tourism partners on a quarterly basis to update them on some of the things that we're working on. So we'll have that coming in April. And then touch on Meal Madness. We just finalized our 4th year of Meal Madness. This is a bracket style competition between our Cumberland County restaurants to see who is the best. It is voted on through Instagram. We had 60,000 votes this year. That is almost twice as many as we had last year. Valley Bistro was announced as our winner. And we really are seeing each year we do this, our restaurants getting more involved and engaging with it. So that was very exciting. This year, PRLA Central Chapter did provide a sponsorship and worked with us. So we're exploring some opportunities to try and tie into some larger organizations.
And when you're doing those, on the Meal Madness, that is more IP addresses that are already registered to a Cumberland County, more so than tourism?
Not quite. It's actually whoever follows us on Instagram. We do place some local ads as well and put it in our e-newsletter. So it's whoever follows us on Instagram, and then whoever intentionally follows us so that they can participate through either ads or other outreach methods.
Is there any summary at the end where you confirm, like, basically, you know, the people that participated? Is there any dissecting of what that looks like, the groups that participated in this?
Unfortunately, no. Through the way we do the voting on Instagram, there's just really not a lot to glean from it unless we were to write down every single username and then deep dive on each of them. The tools are very basic,
Okay.
but it's something we just get so much engagement from. The next slide is about our social media, and because of Meal Madness, partly because of Meal Madness, we did see increased followers and engagement across all of our channels, not even just Instagram where the campaign was hosted, but also our Facebook. And we also saw, you know, reach is up 252%. That's the amount of people seeing our content. A really quick primer on the way social media works. You may have 10,000 followers, but they don't all see your content. The more people engage with you, the more people see your content. So these types of contests and these types of engagements with our community really help us to have a better reach. Looking at visitor services, our 2025 visitor guide is here, and we're very excited about that. We sent out an e-newsletter in January on Plan Your Vacation Day, and we had over 1,000 requests just from that newsletter. And that went out to people that had signed up to receive our visitor newsletter. That is a mix of visitors, residents, and tourism businesses that are just interested in tourism topics. We had a ribbon cutting last week at History on High, the shop. We have a visitor center presence there. The Historical Society has redone the space. It looks beautiful. So we were happy to be there and participate in that. And then we actually have 2 new signs coming. One is new to in the last week, so it didn't make it to the slide. We are updating the visitor center signage on I-81. It's quite faded and hard to see. So there's new signage coming there. We are also renewing and updating the signage for historic Carlisle on the Turnpike, and that is in conjunction with the Carlisle Borough. And with that, we're going to go ahead and pass it over to Greg.
Exactly. So we've had a fairly successful run here in terms of securing grant funding. Between October of last year and March, we've secured $15.2 million on behalf of 14 projects across the local share account statewide, Category 4 and Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program funds. I will note that we, as CADIC, are the staff for the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority. I'll just note that 6 of those 9 RACP awards, Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program awards, went to IDA projects to the tune of about $5.7 million.
Greg, on the IDA, on the applications that ultimately go to the IDA, does the IDA staff or does CADIC staff help with those applications?
We can. It depends on the project developer. Anyone has the ability to apply for an itemization within the Capital Itemization Act, as long as there's funds available and as long as their project fits with that description within that line item.
So Kelly, sometimes we are engaged upfront. Other times people put in their own applications using their consultant and request our line items. So it varies.
Of the 9 that were awarded, do you know how many CADIC was involved with the application process? That's why I was asking about the IDA. Like, I don't know that the IDA has staff to facilitate with that application process. So I was curious of if CADIC did that on their behalf, or if they all went direct, you know.
No, we do work for them.
Okay.
So we do meet with those applicants should they come to us. And then once awarded, we also do assist them in getting through the process, submitting their additional paperwork and making sure they know what to do.
Do you know of the 9, how many you guys were involved in that were awarded?
It was either 3 or 4. I don't recall exactly.
Thank you.
You did just say you're the staffer on the IDA.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when we say 3 or 4, those are the upfront, Kelly,
That we
I just wanted-
submitted, yeah.
that we submitted. We work with all of these, all 15 of these.
Once they're approved.
Once they're approved.
Yeah.
Correct.
I just meant on the upfront part, like if you have a success rate with getting and I know that's very subjective because it's that the approval of that is out of the control, but I was just curious of the ones that got submitted, that you had a hand in, how many were there that got approved? On that?
I just wanted to respond to Jean too,
Yeah.
because I didn't want that confusion.
In terms of loan financing, we are reaching out to businesses across the county through our Engage calling program, whereby we meet with businesses to assess where they're at currently, where they're trying to go, discuss any types of struggles or opportunities that they have, and connect them with various resources, including our financing through the state and the Small Business Administration. We are currently working 2 active projects, seeking $200,000 in total funding. One of the projects is seeking $100,000 directly through the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority, and one is seeking to utilize CADIC's internal loan funds, Cumberland Small Business Fund and the State Small Business Credit Initiative.
So, and Greg, what's the timeline on this economic? Is this just since the start of the year? Is this all just first quarter information?
This is just first quarter
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Yep. And I'm going to kick it back over to Ashley for a moment.
Looking at our tourism funding, Greg and I are actually working on a funding seminar series. This is something new that we've never done. We realized we had similar ideas at the beginning of the year and decided it was a great opportunity to collaborate. We will be kicking off in Q3, date to be determined, an outdoor recreation funding seminar for our outdoor partners. And then in Q4, we will have an agribusiness, agritourism funding seminar. The intent is that these will follow into 2026 and hopefully into the future, having a few a year on different topics as our partners tell us they're looking for information. As far as our actual tourism grants, we have awarded 6 grants to date, 6 applications, totaling almost $377,000 in awards. I know that our staff has been out talking to partners, and there's definitely more in the pipeline.
Part of our role in the county is working with site selectors, the Commonwealth, and individual companies that are seeking information on sites that are available for them to purchase or lease, to relocate or expand a business into the county. To date, in 2025, we've received 4 such requests for information across various sectors. Primarily, we have historically received distribution logistic, light industrial, and as you can see, those are two sectors that are continue to be interested in the county. We have also received through a site selector that we've been engaged with, some that are, I would say, fairly atypical for this area. A life sciences company that is seeking information for an existing facility for a research and development lab, as well as a solar panel manufacturer that is focusing in the Great Lakes area, but expanding into the Mid-Atlantic as well. In our effort to further collaborate with our commercial realtors across the county, we will be including information about open requests for information that we have and are currently researching as a staff as part of our economic development newsletter to further engage those individuals and come up with a better way to coordinate that effort between the public and private sector.
Can I go back for a second, please?
Yeah.
To the tourism funding and
Sure.
financing. So there's a special award here that has an asterisk beside it. I don't know what the asterisk means. But it says there have been no apps received. Nothing is received, nothing's in review, nothing's funded, but there's $14 million apps award. Is that what's sitting there waiting to be used?
Not quite. So this was $14,000.
I'm sorry, 14,000. It's Michael, I don't have my glasses.
No, and so the reason this is on here is we were working with an applicant. They were awarded, they were funded. From the time they put in their application, it was a project that required prevailing wage. From the time they submitted their application to the time they actually started the work, the project costs increased by $60,000. When they submitted their application, they didn't ask for the full award that they were eligible for. So we worked with our committees and they agreed to give them the most they could apply for was $250, to give them the $14,000 to get them to $250.
Okay,
So that's why that's on there. I wasn't really sure how to best put that on there. It wasn't a new application. It was an old application. It was just a circumstantial
got it.
award.
Thank you. 'Cause I just wanted to just.
And
wondered
Ashley,
about it.
did that straddle 2 years? Was the original portion in 23 and then the second?
So the application came in early
sorry.
2024, and she had received the quotes in first quarter 2024, and they just started work this quarter. So that's why there was such a disparity between the rates, because it was a year from where they had been quoted and so when they actually got their prevailing wage schedule.
Okay. Thanks, appreciate it.
Well, and let me ask you, so that's going to continue to be on there. How can I make that easier to understand?
I think just having the context for the asterisk
Okay,
would be, but
Yeah, the footnote.
yeah, you had shared that with me before at one of the committee meetings I attended, so but I think maybe it would be helpful for us to have it there for continuity as well. Thank you.
And I just wanted to hit on that last bullet on the site information request. So back in the fall, there were 2 statewide efforts to solicit information, fairly in-depth information, including geographic coordinates, utility information, zoning, anything you could want to know about a site. And we were able to gather that information for 4 sites to submit to Team PA and PPL.
I'm just gonna add one thing to that. They had very specific sites
Criteria.
and criteria that they wanted. So for us to come up with 4 was pretty phenomenal.
Data center,
I'm sorry.
data centers.
No, these are just general. So
Yeah, I think
not
the
specific project based.
just general criteria was 25-acre minimum zone for industrial development.
I think that was a pretty large area that, because I know Cretic had supplied sites as well. I'm not sure how far they had asked. Was it across the whole state?
It was across the whole
Yeah.
state. Yep.
PPA was PPL area
Okay.
Yeah, fair.
region.
Does that include like Columbia Gas?
I'm sorry.
Do they ask for all types of utilities such as, I know we had a thing a few years ago where Columbia Gas got involved.
Yeah, and any utilities that were available at that site in terms of what capacity they could serve, if they needed to be extended to that site, what that cost might look like. Right, so I mentioned our Engage Business Calling program. This is a state program that we are part of through our PrEP region, which is Partnership for Regional Economic Performance. We were recently approved, Griffin Means and myself, to be Engage callers, meaning we don't have to have somebody with us to conduct those visits. We can simply go to a business, sit down with them, have that conversation. And again, just to reiterate, the purpose is to gauge where they're at, what sort of resources they might need, and make sure that they're connected with those resources. We've also been meeting with some municipalities. To date in 2025, we've met with Silver Spring and Hampton Townships, and that is something that we are continuing to build upon.
Great, one question on that. So this is very similar to the open business calling program. So when you do these, so you're asking about their needs, you're talking particularly financial or a whole range of things? Or?
Financial, workforce,
Okay.
Any business training.
So we are looking to identify what are their top issues.
Exactly, yeah, and I'll talk about those a little bit more in this slide, because it is directly linked with the PrEP program, which again is that Partnership for Regional Economic Performance, which is a coordinated regional effort to provide businesses with expeditious service to refer them to partners and connect them with those technical assistance resources, address workforce needs, and providing financial assistance. So what we have noticed thus far in the year is that the primary needs typically align with business planning, developing financial projections, which are required to access financing, and training and recruitment of workforce.
So do referrals to the Small Business Development Center?
Yep, and you can see on here, not change the total at the bottom, but we've had 17 referrals to the Small Business Development Center, another 10 to South Central PA Works, which is the workforce board, DCD and CADIC for financing, and then the Industrial Resource Center, Mantech, and Ben Franklin Technology Partners for manufacturing and innovation. And I will say that just because we have a total of 32, doesn't necessarily mean that those were 32 individual meetings. Some of those businesses needed to be connected to multiple resources.
And back to Gary's question, I guess, on the call for Engage, it's pretty formulaic, right? The things that they want you, I mean, that's why they do a certification in the Engage thing, right? So there are certain things that you have to check the box. Or you're supposed to, I guess.
There's a structured survey, which historically didn't always yield the best results in terms of the information that was gathered and provided. So the state has recommended that we transition more to a conversational approach.
Sorry, I don't mean to giggle about the state.
Yeah, so we
thinking a check the box wouldn't necessarily get you where you needed to go, but
so it's more of a conversation. We know what the survey consists of, the information that we are required to provide, and there may be instances where a business doesn't need to be connected to a particular resource or has not had a struggle that they have shared with us. So we do our best to gather as much information as possible so that we can populate that information into the customer relation management portal.
Okay, thank you.
Great. One other question, since it's on the docket here, the Small Business Development Center. So these are the numbers that you refer to them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get a report on what type of workload they do for Cumberland County on a quarterly or annual basis? Do we know that other than the projects that they're doing?
I don't have numbers readily available, but we do work with them fairly consistently. We have a good working relationship and open lines of communication with them. So the Real Estate Collaborative, our nonprofit redevelopment arm. We have 2 active projects in the county. The former Tyco facility at the edge of the borough, where we signed a sales agreement with Loda Cooper back in April of 2024. They have partnered with Tri-County Housing to apply for some funding through Pennsylvania Housing and Finance Authority or Agency to develop that site. Just as kind of a refresher, that redevelopment is going to include 2 housing projects within that site. For Frog and Switch, we issued a request for proposals for a survey and phase 1 environmental assessment back at the end of February. Through that process, we received 6 total proposals in all, 2 for the environmental assessment and 4 for the survey. The company that we awarded, BL Company, did apply for both proposals, and that ended up working out very nicely for us. It's one contract, one company to manage and work with.
Greg, one question I would have on the former Tyco site is, do you know when PHFA will make the determination if it's a project that they can receive funding for?
I don't have the timeline, but I can certainly get that for you.
It seems to me like those can be pretty lengthy sometimes. So
Public funding does tend to be on the lengthy side, but we will get that information to you.
thank you.
So I'm going to cover some organizational items here, give you guys used to a break for a minute, and then they're going to come back in. First, let me introduce Julie Caranda, who is our finance and HR manager. She did not expect me to introduce her. She's done a lot of this work, and I just wanted you to know who that was. So our staffing recruitment, we have hired in the first quarter and onboarded our economic development specialist for grants. And that is going very well. We're happy to have that person on board to help us manage all of the grants that you heard about previously, both for the IDA as well as for CADIC. We are in the process of making an offer for our Director of Tourism and Marketing. So we're excited about that and hope to have someone on here within the next month for that position. And I know Ashley is anxious for that person. So,
Ashley, you've done a great job, so
I'm trying.
She's doing wonderful. So the employee professional development, we've done a lot of cross training between our economic development and our tourism and marketing team. You've heard about some of that today just in passing, but the tourism and marketing team have really jumped in and helped us to get a lot of things across the finish line on the economic development side, which has been great. And they're learning more about that language and lingo so that they're able to identify possibilities for marketing of our programs. We have attended numerous conferences. Many of our staff are working on certifications, and we have asked them to continue to stay on as CADIC employees as we pay for some of those. Leadership Cumberland, every year we have someone participating in that. So all of those help to make CADIC stronger. And the other thing that we finished this year that is notable is our employee handbook and policies. And I want to thank the county for your assistance in pulling that all together. So.
all those little things that have to be done that get neglected over time. That's true. We're dealing, yeah, we have the same thing.
We're getting a lot of ours behind or getting beyond those things. So.
Same.
The CADIC board, just a few things to note. We did hold a working session in September. I probably mentioned that we were going to when we were here last, but we did hold that session. We used that information to prioritize for 2025, and we are moving forward in those directions. Some of the things you heard about today were outdoor recreation, agribusiness, agritourism. Some of those came out of that session. as well. We also have put in place a right to know policy. We did not have one, and that has actually been used once already. So that we're glad that we had it in place, and we followed the state and the county in writing that as well. I have met with all current board members to talk about engagement and to check in with them to see how things are going, how we get them more involved. Everyone is excited to become part of a committee. There are a few that have not joined committees, and we are in the process of getting them on board to a new committee. Some have actually jumped on a couple of committees, which is very exciting. We do have one open position, as you know, and we're anxious to get that filled. And we have recommended bylaw changes to all of you, as you know.
Janet, on that,
Yes.
I'm sorry, on that board position, we had discussed earlier today, we're going to discuss that tomorrow.
Oh,
So we'll
great.
get back to you by the end of the week on that.
Great, terrific. Board reorganization, this is just to point out who our existing board members are right now so that you had an updated list in case you didn't. That took place in February, so. Moving on to our budget, our 2025 budget was approved by the board in December of 2024, and year to date, our revenue is exceeding our expenses. So we are watching that quarterly this year to make sure that we keep on the right track. And as we have additional funds, identifying appropriate ways of spending those. Our finance committee is heavily involved in those discussions. And our audits, I'm pleased to say that KDIC's audit is has been approved and is already at the county, and we are finalizing the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority audit, and they're meeting next week on the 9th. So once they approve that, it will be submitted to all of you here at the county.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for making sure those things got
You're
ushered through.
welcome. Moving on, next week, we are releasing our 2024 annual report. As the financing and audits come to an end for 2024, it made it possible to release that. This will be the first annual report created since 2018. So we're excited to have that out. That'll be presented to our key stakeholders next Friday, a week from this coming Friday, the 11th of April. And then it'll be available on our website as well, if anyone wants to check that out. And our KDIC Alliance, our engagement committee, is reviewing the Alliance to make it something that is of interest to many of our businesses. We intend to come out with, when we prepared this, a launch of Q2. We have since decided to push that back to a July 1 start and launch and begin our invoicing. Our goal this year is $90,000 raised for the Alliance, and we are planning a September 25 event and training about artificial intelligence. And we're working with PETA on that. They're bringing in a speaker that we're partnering with them to bring that individual in.
Janet, thank you for the annual report. I know that's something that was important to me, and I'm glad to know that that's going.
We're excited to have that out. Now I'm going to turn it back to Ashley to speak to the charts.
Everyone loves charts. So the two charts that we have here are, one is from CoStar. Those are our hotel and motel rooms. And one is from AirDNA, and those are short-term rental rooms. Something worth noting is we have an inventory of over 4,700 hotel and motel rooms. Our inventory for short-term rentals is much smaller, right around 200, and those do fluctuate because someone has a room available in January doesn't mean that they ever make it available again the rest of the year. So it's a little bit different. As far as our hotel motel rooms go, we are pretty flat for January and February. Occupancy is down slightly, but we also are looking at slightly more rooms than we were last January and February. So they're pretty flat. We were able to maintain a positive ADR average daily rate and revenue per available room. In our 7-county region, 3 of them had negative ADR, so it's good to be on the other half where we're not negative. Looking at
Hotel owners appreciate that as well.
sure. Looking at our short-term rentals, and I will note this data is new to us. This isn't something that we have always had access to. So that's why I want to spend a little bit of time on it, because I think it's interesting. As you can see, our occupancy, daily rate, and revenue are far higher. But again, this is for a much smaller quantity of rooms. Looking at this, our 7-county region was up as a whole. So I think that's just a positive for our region. There have been some recently reports left out about short-term rentals in Pennsylvania. They have been interesting. The answer is they're hard to track. So I will leave it at that before I get too far in the weeds here. But I did just want to make a note that they're not necessarily apples to apples. And the short-term rentals are just a lot more difficult to track.
Yeah, and actually, looking at it in comparative, I think the one thing that would be really interesting that might help in that is an average stay. Because if you are going to a hotel room and you typically would stay one night, if you're just going to stay multiple nights, you may look more toward an Airbnb. And so I'd be curious on an average.
Unfortunately, we don't get average stay for our hotel and motel rooms, but we do get it for our short-term rental rooms. So I could provide it for one, but unfortunately not the other. It's just not available.
Interesting. Maybe if you talk to some of the hospitality folks, you can just ask them if they know what their average stay is on some of the larger properties. Interesting.
So we just wanted to point out some of our partner engagement. We were happy to partner with the county on CPACE. We know this is a program that you all are very excited about, as are we. And we were able to launch that on February 27th at our offices. We are talking about some potential additional opportunities to meet with lenders and some others about CPACE, and we're working with the planning department on that. We hold destination sales meetings quarterly with our hotels and have added partners. We held the first one for this year at the Penn Harris and Carlisle events, Dill's Tavern and AHEC Army Heritage Education Center Foundation came and provided overviews of their events and attractions. And you can see that it is a mix of individual tourism attractions and participants, partners that we invite to those.
Jenna, could we get invited to those as well?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
We mentioned the annual report. We have our annual update coming up next Friday to key stakeholders, and then we will release that annual report. The annual tourism event will be held June 5th from 1 to 4. That will be held at the Cumberland County Historical Society, and we are working with the State Tourism Office, Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and America 250 PA as speakers for that. We are talking about, Kelly, whether we have time to fit someone in for or for Cumberland County 275. It would be great to have someone welcoming the group there. We also are holding a session for the grants, the nonprofit grants, the local share account funding on June 12th and at the West Shore Theater, and are hoping to get nonprofits to come in and learn more about how they access those dollars. And then we are scheduling and holding our golf outing on October 3rd. To continue with partner engagement, what we are calling in the office CADIC in the community in the first quarter, this is quarter 1 of 25, we have attended 14 chamber events. We have attended 23 non-chamber events. We have had 12 one-on-one partner meetings. Those are tourism-related partner meetings. Tourism grant meetings, these are one-on-one to build the pipeline. We've had 20 of those. Some of the notable items from those meetings, the 275th birthday kickoff for Cumberland County was one of those events. The ribbon cutting at Freedom Physical Therapy and Performance in Wormleysburg, where we had a loan, and the Rotary Club of Carlisle, Greg and I both presented to them on our programs and updating on rec.
So Janet, of the events attended in the Katigama community, how many calling officers are responsible for those? Or I mean, I call them calling officers, but how many of your staff are responsible for those specific events? Because not all staff.
Many of our staff are actually out because everyone that is public facing. So it's all told, how many on your side? Probably 3,
At least 4.
4.
Yeah.
So 7, 8, 9, probably 9 of us. And with that, we will stop and take any questions, and thank you for your time and attention.
And Janet, so when you're talking about reporting on the engagement in the community, have you set goals for that activity for all of the, and again, I'll call them calling officers, but I don't know if that's the right term.
We have.
Okay, and the same with loans and engaged calls you have set as well. Okay, very good, thank you. And municipal meetings, is that a part of it?
Part of it as
Okay,
well.
thank you. So we don't get the annual report in advance of the meeting.
No sneak peek here.
Oh, come on. I was hoping it would be tucked in here somewhere.
No, but we did give you the visitor's guide, and we also gave you the Pennsylvania guide as well. We are advertised in that, and we had to beg, borrow, and steal a month or so ago. I actually brought those with me the last time I was here in January and met with you and forgot to give them to you. But to bring them to that meeting was tough. We had to get them at the farm show actually to bring them. So
I know one of the topics that came up as a bit of discussion recently, and maybe with Ashley, is it really maybe considering looking at what assets we have in Cumberland County to promote, to attract business. And I give credit to Jean for always saying, you know, but why are people coming here? Why are people visiting? And so I think those are all good discussions to be having as we move forward with a new brand and what are we promoting then with that, along with that new brand.
I think you'll see some of that coming out in the next few months. Our tourism committee is looking at some of those things, as well as some of the data that we're able to collect and then filter down to answer some of those questions. The unfortunate thing is you don't have one-on-one conversations to have the exact reason from people, but we can make some assumptions.
I mean, we do have, certain things that we know we can quantify the number of visitors too, so that's always helpful. Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have questions of the team here at this time?
Could you speak a little bit to I had this conversation with someone last evening about how many new hotels are coming into the area, particularly along the interstates. And could you speak just a little bit to the evolution of our room base? Because we've had a number of properties that have been down flagged, and some have just kind of gone out of business.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of change in that area. So.
We have seen a lot of change. Unfortunately, we don't always find out about it until everyone else does. We try our best to make the connections with the management companies that are making those decisions. They don't always share. So what we get, CoStar does provide a pipeline, but it really has very limited information, and half the time it's not right. So we try to figure out where we can. We stay in touch with our hotels. So if they are changing flags, if they are building a new property, selling their hotel, we're doing our best to stay up with that. We are seeing new hotels come in. A lot of them are brands we don't necessarily already have. The last few that have opened, we already had them, but the ones I'm hearing and I can't confirm that they're gonna materialize, are brands that aren't necessarily here. I think we saw that with the Hampton Inn, that became a Larkspur Landing. And, we've been having some conversations with our partners about what is, making these things happen, and a lot of it is brand standards. You were in the meeting where one of our hoteliers shared that once the Hampton turns 40, it just can't be a Hampton anymore.
Oh,
That's it. So I think we're gonna start seeing that. Our lodging inventory in general is older. So I do think we are going to see some of those changes. I wish I had more to share.
no, that's fine. That's very helpful. Thank you.
And that conversation was really fascinating, quite frankly, because the only alternative for the owner of the hotel is to completely demolish and build brand new, or to sell to someone who does not want that flag. So to your point, I think we're seeing that with some of our hotel stock just being a bit older, and I think now some of it becoming long-term rental and instead of just overnight. So it's changing times for the county, but I wanted to formally thank you for stepping in. I know it's been a bit of a heavier lift, and we appreciate you being able to do that. I think the organization historically hasn't always had the depth to be able to keep things carried on. As Janet, I think you've witnessed in your time things that you've had to pick up and clean off, and so the annual report being one, not having been done for 6 years and now being done. So I appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Do we know the reason that was discontinued?
Timing, I don't know, the timing, probably the pandemic played into some of that as well. I don't know, it's a little earlier then, but maybe that was part of it. Two things I did want to say, or introduce our board chair and our vice chair. John Cox is with us, and Carol Kilco, and I wanted to thank them publicly for their support of CADIC and being here today. And I also wanted to point out that this is one of the pictures from Pine Grove Furnace, and some that we've recently have taken for our stock, so we can use them for our advertising and things. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Next up, we are on the agenda of other business, and at this time, is there any other business to come before the board? If not, I did want to extend on behalf of the board our condolences to the family of Michael Crouch, who gave selflessly of his time, first as a councilman for Newville Borough, and then as mayor. And we extend our sincere condolences to the family of Michael, and really appreciated his service and know that he will be greatly missed. So is there any other business at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
We are adjourned. Thank you.